classic value investor, but you've said so recently to your investors that value has not made a comeback yet. What is the point at which it does make a comeback, and are there specific signals you're looking for in the market for that to happen?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me on, and I'm thrilled to be here at the Robinhood Conference. Has always meant a lot to me. I helped found it 10 years ago, and this is our 10th anniversary, so we're super excited to be here and to talk, and thank you for having me on your program. Relating to value investing, I don't know that it ever comes back. You know, there have been serious changes to the market structure, and pretty much most of the value investors have been put out of business. So if value investing is trying to do security analysis, think about what companies are worth, think about why they might be misvalued or misunderstood, and then do valuation analysis that tells you that that in fact is true, there's just very few of us left. Most market participants these days, they either cannot do value, they're just not trained or experienced in knowing how to do valuations, or their structure doesn't allow them to. Like if they're an index fund or a passive thing, the last thing you're doing is value, or their system is a quantitative system or a trading system or an algorithmic system, and or your style is to just buy things that have charts that go up and to the right. Right? And none of those participants are really doing value. So it used to be, you know, that on every conference call of every company, there were like dozens of analysts from all of these competing long only, hedge fund, long short people and stuff like that, trying to hear what companies were doing and saying and trying to figure it out. And those staffs have been gutted because the world has moved passive. And so there's just a lot less competition for what we do.
Well, what does that mean for how you operate as an investor? If you're saying that so much of the world has turned passive or quantitative, has that made your job fundamentally different as somebody who picks specific securities?
It absolutely does. It used to be we could buy something at a reasonably low multiple, whatever we thought that was, think that the company would do somewhat better, benefit from it being somewhat better, and realize that other investors would see what we saw 6 months later, a year later, and would re-rate the shares. So you could buy something 11 times earnings, and maybe they would earn 10% more, but you'd get another 3 points on the multiple, and you'd make 50% over 2 or 3 years. That isn't happening anymore because there's nobody to notice what actually happens at these companies. So we have to be, the other side of that is nobody knows what anything is worth. So there's an enormous number of companies that are dramatically misvalued in ways that we haven't seen before. So whereas before we might pay 8 times or 9 times or 12 times, which seem like low multiples, but now we can buy a lot of those same companies at 3 times earnings or 4 times earnings. And if they're buying back 10 or 15 or 20 or 40% of their stock in some cases, eventually we're going to have to get paid by the company as opposed to having other investors figure out what we thought we figured out before them.